Welcome to the Pell City Podcast, another episode. I'm excited to speak to this episode's guest. And so let me jump right in and tell you all about her. So she's a 20-year resident of Pell City. She's a former English teacher at Pell City High School. Who cannot wait to talk about PCHS? Her professional journey has taken her from being inside the classroom to becoming an ed tech professional, a freelance writer, and now she's a published author. She's also a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. In her new book, Secret Birmingham, A Guide to the Weird, Wonderful, and Obscure. I know, right? She highlights the quirky, historic, and little-known stories of the Magic City, but also she reflects on her love for storytelling, travel, and community. Now, additionally, she now manages a team of instructional coaches in her role as Director of Professional Learning and contributes to publications like Behem Family, Lake Life 24/7, Discover St. Clair Magazine, Chicken Soup for the Soul, Hallmark Mahogany, and Food, Wine, and Travel. Make sure that you check out her blog, What Cherith Thinks, and that she focuses on self-care and sightseeing. Cannot wait to dive in with the wonderful author extraordinaire, Miss Cherith Glover Fluker. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm good. How was that? Did that
You did great.
encompass?
You
That
did
was
great.
all right.
Sometimes I had to listen back like, "Ooh, is that me?" So thanks. You did a
So
great.
so I like to I like to do a bio, like a quick little synopsis or whatever, because like I don't know if, you get to hear about yourself
Not of-
enough.
not often.
So I hope that makes you proud of your, accomplishments, but also the fact that like really stamping your foot in history and, in being a pillar in the community and just a good person, man. So people want to know. So,
Yeah, thank you.
thanks for joining the podcast. But yeah. So how first of all, you stepped away, and I know we've talked offline a little bit, but
Mhm.
you are originally from Talladega.
I am.
All right.
Yep. Yep. Born and
And
raised in Talladega.
born and raised Talladega.
Lived within, I say, an arm's reach of Talladega my whole life because
Okay.
I graduated from Winterboro High School, tiny little high school in Talladega County, went off to Auburn from there, and then moved back to Pell City. So I've been in that little kind of triangle my entire life. So yeah, I grew up there. When I came back from Auburn to Pell City, the main reason was we wanted to be close to home, but not at home. And so this was kind of a little happy medium for us to be able, because my husband's from Talladega as well. Both of us wanted to be close to our families, and we were still kind of away and then close to Birmingham and easy route to Atlanta too, if you wanted to kind of be submerged in the city. But Pell City has been great for us. We've raised 2 kids here. Both of them came up through the Pell City school system from pre-K to graduation. Yeah, so this is home for us at this point. We've lived here longer than we lived in Talladega, so this is home.
Man, you are a Panther for sure.
Yeah, through and through.
So you talk about and we're going to dive into the book, of course, but you talked about your love for travels. The furthest place you've been from Talladega, and tell me about it.
So that's kind of interesting. I guess if I'm thinking about the map, I do a lot of domestic travel. I mean, we love to get to the Caribbean. Obviously, I have hopes and dreams of going to Europe one day, but the farthest that I've been is California. Been in California a couple of times. And I do think that especially now that my kids are getting close to having their own jobs and my pockets can, have some dollars in them, we'll be able to do some of that other travel. We started having kids really young. Like I tell people that I graduated from Auburn with a husband, a baby, and a degree. So we started right into the family thing. So that was kind of our focus. But now that, and of course we traveled over the years, but now we have some checks. We now can do a little bit more. So thank God for jobs.
Ain't he all right?
Right, right. So I think that in the future we will kind of start to explore more. I'm much more of an explorer than my husband is. He's okay with traveling, but if I could travel every week, I would. I love getting out and just seeing new things. And the way that I've traveled, I say, has changed a lot since becoming an empty nester. We've been empty nesters for 4 years now. And when you have kiddos, you travel to you've got to make sure they're entertained, right? So you're looking for the amusement parks and the things to keep them entertained. But as I kind of got to this season of my life, and it's reflected in my blog a lot too, I focus more on slow travel, more of that discovery. What makes this place special? What's the history behind this place? What are the unique things here? What are the things that can help me to rediscover myself or to learn something about myself? We sometimes get kinda caught up in the, "I don't like to go outside," or, do you know if you really do? Have you been out and tried to do things like hiking or these things that are really different from what you normally would do? And I've learned over these last few years where I've really kind of focused on not going to the places where everybody goes, but looking for those hidden gems. I know that's an overused term, but it's just the truth, and I've really learned that there are so many unique places that can provide you with experiences that can really be life changing for you. I think about the number of times I've been to Gatlinburg, had been there and did a lot of the touristy things. Well, one time someone asked me, let's go hike to see a waterfall." I'm like, "I don't really do that, but and I said, "You know what? Stop saying no to things." And so I did it, and gosh, it was such a, feeling of accomplishment. And you just stay in your lane. I didn't do a 2-day hike, backpacking, all that. We just did like a 2-mile, hike. It was pretty steep, but those views that I got to see, I was like, "Man, if I had said no to this, I wouldn't have been able to experience this, and I wouldn't have known that I could do it." So that feeling was like, "Oh, okay, let's try this again." It was very exhilarating. So
Well, one thing that I've traveled, been fortunate enough to have traveled a good bit, a good, I'll say enough to reflect in talking to others, and then also just thinking back on, experiences myself to say, you know what, I've lived a pretty interesting life. You know what I mean? But also with that, to me, travel not only, like you said, helps you to really discover things about yourself, but it gives you a full, well-rounded existence
mhm.
that, you realize that the world is smaller than
Yes,
what you think that it is,
yes.
but it also lets you see that people all over the world have something in common.
Yeah.
And it's love for something, whether it's music in my, from my perspective, it's travel and, telling stories from your perspective. But can you talk about that? Like what has it done for you, just enriching your life and shoot, even your marriage, even because, I'm sure you and your husband travel a lot
Yeah,
together.
we do a lot. I do have solo travel too.
Okay.
But you are so right. One thing that I noticed really early on when I started to write about different destinations is that everybody is just out here living life, and everybody is living pretty much the same life. People are working, they're caring for their families, they're, doing things that we do right here. So I think that's very interesting to see, especially when we go places and, you think, oh, they've got the same types of stores or they've got the same sorts of entertainment. Like it may be called a different name, but it's the same thing. But I also see just the ability to just kind of I love looking at small towns and downtowns and looking at how
Wow.
places have really kind of restored their, try to keep that history of architecture of buildings and just looking at what people did so long ago, that lets you know that we're really not that far removed from other, decades or centuries or, whatever the case is. So that's always interesting to see as well. And I like to say, traveling without an itinerary and going to places where
Okay.
locals go. When I go travel, I don't want to go to the places to eat that I can go to at home. I really want to see like the local cuisines, and I really, everybody thinks that they're whatever is the best, whatever that thing is. And I like to ask people. I'm a big talker. I like to talk to strangers. You know, I like to just kind of
What's your lead question when you're
just
when you're
kinda
talking?
yes, and it's so funny. I can always pick out my person. I can kinda look to see if, like, people wanna be messed with or, whatever it is if I say a couple words. But, sometimes I'm like, "Hey, are you from around here?" or something like that. And it doesn't matter, like, it doesn't matter old, young, whatever, I will pick up a conversation with everybody. I have a friend that teases me all the time. She was like, "Girl, you can't even go through the drive-through. Like I told you, I spend a lot of time on the phone in the car." And I'll be like, "Hold on, I'm gonna pick up my coffee," or whatever, and when I pick it up and I'm talking to the barista or whatever, she's like, "Girl, just get your coffee and go. It's other customers behind you." But I love making conversation. People are so interesting. And
Yes,
there are
yes.
just how different we are in our perspectives and what we think is the must-see thing. Because I love to ask people, like, "What is the must-see do or must-see thing in this area?" I think that's really important. I'm really big on, what do you have to go to this place to see? And that's what you see a lot of my book is like, what do you have to come to Birmingham or to the Birmingham area to experience? What can you not get somewhere else? What would you show someone who was coming here, who had never been here before, that you want them to take back with them and say, like, you've got to go to Birmingham. I saw this amazing whatever, or I saw this interesting whatever. And so I love seeing that and doing that in other places as well.
Well,
And I find out that by asking people.
I can't wait to dive into the book, because I got some, reading some of it, man, what? But it's a few that I was like, "For real?"
I
So
love
what
that.
I'm gonna ask you specifically about 3 of them. But an English teacher.
Yes,
So let me tell you, besides my mom, because my mom is hands down my favorite teacher, my hardest teacher,
I
probably
love
my
it.
worst teacher.
I love it.
She was my 2nd grade teacher. I was
Okay.
fortunate enough that they allowed it, back then, and,
Yes.
I had to call her Miss Frazier and everything.
I
I was
love
like,
it. Well, that's yes, I love it. Don't come.
so she did not pull no punches with her daughter, but, everybody knew I was her daughter and all of that stuff, but she did not pull no punches. But when
I
we
love
got
it.
home, my daddy was able to take up for me, like, "You being too hard on her." Testament to, think my dedication to learning,
Mhm.
to exploring, and, just being a person that, understands that education is a pinnacle, of you just becoming a whole person. But I say that to say one of my favorite teachers was my English teacher, my
I love
ninth grade
it.
English
Same for
teacher,
me.
Sue Ellen Brown. God rest her soul.
Yes, I have
Yeah,
talked with her. Yes,
Miss
yes.
Brown was listen, Miss Brown, that was my homegirl.
And when I was an like, new teacher, so I yes,
Okay.
great, loved working with her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she was, by far, a person that influenced, I wanna say, my career, because she took me, and God rest her soul, I can say it now, but, she took me to see Maya Angelou
Mhm.
perform at the Alabama Theater, and when I tell you that was a memory that I remember every moment of that trip to this day. But it inspired me to do what I did and have done in my professional career, and that was, becoming a broadcaster, somebody that, speaks for a living and all that kinda stuff, and when I tell you it just captivated, she was just so captivating, but she pulled out that love,
Yes.
in me. But as an English teacher, what has what have, I guess, words meant to you, and, have you been able to see the elevation of students
Ooh,
that
yeah.
have taught or whatever in the Pell City school system, and, just talk about your experience
Yeah,
there.
I have been very, very fortunate to have built relationships with a lot of the students that I had at Pell City. I taught in Talladega also, in Talladega County Schools. And I mean, it is just so, like you said, it's the biggest reward is seeing students who are, I mean, I smile when I'm on Facebook all the time.
Wow.
I taught high school, so I used to tell them, once you graduate, then you can send me a friend request. And I actually look forward to them sending me friend requests because I love to see what they've done. And it is great when they do say the things like you just said about me being one of their best teachers or one of their favorite teachers, I guess I'll say. And I do love the ones who have gone on to be educators. I love that's
Mm,
who inspired me to want to do this. But my goal was to inspire you to just be a good citizen, just be a good human. And so many of my students have done that. I mean, love bumping into them in the grocery store. So many of them still send me, like, baby shower invitations and wedding
well, that's
invitations.
awesome.
They will come back. Even students who were more challenging students, I love to see them come back and be like, "I'm sorry for the way that I acted in your class," but that happens. It happens, and I love it, and that's what you want, you are hard on them because you want them to do well, and no matter what I see them doing, it's just so good that they have, like you said, those core memories that maybe it was something that I said to them or something that I did for them, whether it was something big or small. I was so mean to you, but you still kept believing in me, or I talked back and you still, and that's what I mean, it's just like having a whole bunch of kids, right? It's like having your own kids and you treat them all like so, and I'm getting to the point now where I don't always remember their names, but I do not forget faces. So sometimes I'm like, tell me your name. But and it is the best feeling ever when you can have that connection with them, because that is all we want to do as teachers, is to help our students to become just productive people in this world, and so many of them have done that, so that's the best feel, and it keeps on just it gift that keeps on giving, right?
Yeah.
I love it. I love it so
Yeah.
much. I love when they feel like wanna send me an email and tell me, "Hey, I got this job," or, "Hey, I did this," or, "Hey, I'm in the Marines," or, "Hey," whatever that tell you all these things, it makes your heart. I mean, it is the best. It is the best.
Well, kudos to you for, being for answering a call, cause woo!
Yes, it is, and it's not a job you can do if you don't want to do it, and I say all the time,
Absolutely.
I walked away from my job or my career as an educator for 19 years, but I'm still very connected to it. I work in the ed tech space, so I'm still supporting teachers and students, and I feel like a lot of times when you hear people are teachers, it's that job that never like, you cannot get away from it. Most people, you notice they have really long careers. Some people, retire after 20 years, but teachers are like 30 years, 40 years, like, you just can't get out of it.
But
You're
you have, you've transitioned and moved up now. You've moved up, you've pivoted, and you've put your words to paper, and you're now a published author
Yes.
of Secret Birmingham, A Guide to Weird, Wonderful, and Obscure. We gotta first talk about the title,
Right, so I
and
would
then we'll jump in the contents of the book.
love to take credit for the title, but in all actuality, the publisher has a series, and it's the Secret series, and they're all titled Secret, whatever the city is, A Guide to the Weird, Wonderful, and Obscure. And so basically, they're on a mission to uncover those overlooked gems, those hidden treasures, those quirky landmarks in cities all across the United States. So if you look at the Reedy Press website, then I tell people, look for your city. There's very likely a Secret series for your particular city. So as I was writing, Secret Fort Lauderdale came out. Right before me was Secret New York City. I connected a lot with Secret Atlanta as, I was writing my book. So there are city and state ones. So there is likely going to be a Secret Alabama one day. And, so yeah, cities and states all across the United States. So I would love to take credit, like I said, for that title, but it's not. And I'll be honest, I kind of was like you. I was like, hmm. But then once I learned more and I read some of the other books, I was like, this is definitely something that is in line with what I would like to do. So, yeah, it worked out, and I'm glad I didn't say no because of the uncertainty. So, yeah, it was really fun, and it was a very pushed me out of my comfort zone, which is something that I kind of told myself that I needed to do, because that's something that I would certainly push my students to do as a
Yeah.
teacher. So I'm like, what are you gonna tell them to do? Try something new, or, step outside of your comfort zone, and then you're over here being scared to do it. Because I'll be honest, I really was. I made a lot of excuses before I said yes to do this project, because I was like, this is not the type of writing that I do. This is, because this is more like research based. I was like, this isn't, I just wanted to put pen to paper, but this required a lot of work before I put pen to paper, because I had to go and discover all of these things that I was going to include in the book. But I was like, it would be a disservice to what you've been preaching all these years if you say no, because it's something different from what you typically do. So I've done it. And I'll tell you what, I have had students supporting this book, so, being so proud of me and sending me messages and showing up at events and sending me pictures that they bought the book or they saw the book in a store and they're like, this is my teacher. And that is the thing that makes
Man,
me like, I'm so glad I did that. I'm so glad I went ahead and did it.
so you started out with what, like 150 play 160?
150, but
50
the,
places? Okay.
right, in order for me to meet the requirements of the publisher, I had to narrow that down to 84, and that was hard, hard, hard work.
What did the red pen look like? Like, what did
It was use several red pens. It was gosh, yes, it was hard, and, in the acknowledgments of the book, I say thank you to Birmingham for making it a rewarding struggle, because it was a struggle to determine
Mm,
what was going to be in this book, because, when I hear people, or when you hear people say there's nothing to do in Birmingham, send them my way, because I've got a list. I'm like, there are so many things that I discovered and that I learned, and that, Birmingham has a lot. A lot of us know and recognize and can recite and hear the civil rights history of Birmingham because that's, it's very widely known. If you ask somebody in another country or if you ask someone, they probably can recite or tell you something about civil rights here in Birmingham. I say that is a part of Birmingham's story. And there is so much more. Like there is just a lie. We had such a big, big, big contribution to iron for the world. I mean, like there's just we so much that I think people really don't know. And then we hear things like Magic City, and like now I know why it's nicknamed the Magic City. It's not just this fun nickname. There's a reason why, and it's tied to our history. And it was fun to uncover those
Now
things.
you spill the beans because
I cannot
folks
spill
gotta
the
come to
beans. I gotta read.
just a little bit. Folks gotta come to the book, but
Yeah,
just a
so
little
what
bit.
we are one of the few areas, I can't remember the exact number of other areas that have all the materials that are needed to create iron in this very from downtown, a very short mile radius, right? And so once that was all discovered and we started booming with all this iron, the people were flocking here, right, to work and to, we were making all this money and building up as a city. So they talked about how basically the city sprung up overnight, like it was magic. So that's where we
Man,
got that name, the Magic City.
that is dope. That is so dope. One thing, I was reading, it took you talked about all of the research that you did. So it took you like a year, right?
It's a year, yes. I
It
had
took a
a
year.
contractually, I had to be finished in a year. So, when it was so funny when they said that, I was like, "It won't take me a year to do that." It absolutely did take me a
It
year.
did.
It did. Oh, yeah. And I'll
Okay.
tell you why, because I was really, 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 really committed to making sure that I was authentic with the storytelling. So, it was important to me to, of course, do the research, but if there was a person that someone could connect me to that could talk to me, I would go and do an interview. And then I would write these things. And then I want to come back and say, hey, let's look at this together. And it wasn't for their, like, of course, I wanted them to like it, but that wasn't the reason that I did it. I wanted to make sure that the stories that I told were accurate. So it took a really long time for me because of people's schedule and trying to get with people. But it was important to me to make sure that if I was going to do this book, that it was going to be right and I'm not saying that it's perfect, but I know that I put a lot of hard work into making sure that the stories were told accurately.
How did you stay organized? Like,
Oh,
man,
teacher stuff, like, I had spreadsheets all
okay.
over the place, and I put notes there, so when I would check off, like, if I've had my meeting with this person and, has this one been fact checked? So, yeah, I had spreadsheets all over the place, and I also use, like, on my wall over there, I had sticky notes and all these things to try to make sure that I kept things organized, and, if I couldn't get back in touch with someone, then I was like, maybe, if I don't have it by this date, then I'm gonna have to replace it with something else," because, again, so it was important for me to make sure that it was right. So I wanted to have not necessarily, like I said, not necessarily have the blessing of the person because this is my story, but I wanted to make sure that it was told right, that the dates were accurate, that the series of events were accurate. So that was really important to me. And that has really, 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 I think that did a lot to help people embrace the book. Like they saw the care that I was putting into it and they were proud to be a part of the project. So when I had to go back to ask people to host events or to stock books in their establishment, it wasn't hard because they knew that this was something that they were proud of and they wanted to say, hey, check out Dread River Distilling. We're in Secret Birmingham. So I think that
That is
was,
so cool.
yeah, yeah. So it wasn't really my intention in the beginning, but I realized that, because I've already established this relationship, they know about this project, they know the care that I'm putting into it. So they were more willing to embrace it. So that's been
So
nice.
I wanna now ask you about, like, some specific places, and then after that, I want you to tell me your place or discovery that you were just like, "Man, people have to come see
Yeah,
about this
okay.
one." But
Okay.
so the first one was so interesting to me because I've been in, let me see, I think 3 of the buildings you mentioned,
Okay.
at the heaviest corner on
Yes.
earth.
Yes, 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 yes.
What in the
Talk
world? And
about that is real cool. It's a real cool story. And it's so funny because a lot of the things that I uncovered that had names like the heaviest corner on earth,
yeah.
you wanted there to be this fascinating story. You wanted it to be, but yeah. So basically, at the time when those buildings were built, they were, I mean, one of the or a few of the first skyscrapers in the area. So, and they were right there all on the same corner. So they got that nickname that it was the heaviest corner on earth.
That is like because when you think about it, you like, "Wait a minute, what?" And
Right.
you reading, it's like, "Oh,
And that nickname kinda stuck with me. I mean, of course, as other places started to boom up, they kinda lost that distinction, but they embraced it and kept it going, kept that name going, and it's to this day. And if you
mhm,
go there, I don't know if you ever look because I didn't. I had been in those buildings too all the
okay,
time, right there on Morris Avenue.
yeah,
But if you look, like, right before you get on Morris Avenue, they have the seal that says "Heaviest Corner on Earth" on the ground
okay."
on all 4 corners right there, and I was like, "I have never paid attention to this."
I
Think
now
about all
see, that's gonna make me go back and
you need to look, and you're gonna be like,
yeah,
"These could not have been here the whole time," and they absolutely have. They've
man.
been there, yeah.
I'm gonna do that soon because
Mhm,
I've been into and what's crazy is those buildings are so beautiful, and, like, as an artist, I like architecture and I like,
mhm,
seeing how curves and lines and,
mhm.
straight, crooked,
Yeah, it's
whatever.
crazy to me, like, they could do that then with
Yes.
they didn't have the equipment that we have now, and it's just,
Yes.
wow, how did they do that? But yes, it is very fascinating to think
Yeah.
back, especially knowing the history. Like, we know those buildings as what they are right now, but if you think about the history of those buildings, which I kinda touch on in the book too.
That's cool. Now, the other place is right around the corner from there, and the only I'm trying to think if I've ever driven on cobblestone besides got my undergraduate degree from University of Montevallo, so
Uh-huh,
Montevallo is full of cobblestone.
uh-huh.
Full of cobblestone and maintenance bills, because
Uh, yeah,
you
oh, well,
drive
true. Yeah,
drive
that's
on
the
'em,
rub, right?
they're gonna tear up your car after a while, but absolutely beautiful, like, beautiful, inventive, just, some of the first ways to pave roads and
Yeah,
everything.
it's just it's crazy to think about that, and that was another thing that was so hard because there were so many things on that street that I mean,
Yeah,
there's so much history in this area that is insane. That peanut company, I grew up going there, and I wanted to put them in the book, but then I had other things that it was hard, hard, hard to choose what to put in this book. And what I have been doing is trying to kinda the stories that I was not able to tell in the book, I've either been trying to host events there or maybe, like, go into some more detail on those things on my blog, and maybe save some of those things for a second book, we'll see.
they bingo, boom, 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 bingo, ding, ding. That's, that Cobblestone Road, it's a street, is on it's Avenue,
Mhm,
Morris Avenue, and, you driving down it, you wouldn't necessarily think that it's a landmark or a place that you
mhm,
have to see without understanding what's there,
right.
so your discovering of what's there along with the streets just makes it a must-see
Yes, yes,
place.
yes. You
Um
don't find many cobblestone, I mean,
No,
outside
you
of
don't.
well, you don't find many, and I'm glad that they kept that there
Yes.
and have it preserved. And there's mile markers on the road, or not
Mhm.
the mile markers, but the markers that, give an explanation. And that's something too, like, we walk past those things all the time
Yes.
and take it for granted because we see them all the time, so
But and what I, really, intrigued by is that fact, like, you took the time
to
to
notice.
really take it all in and understand, like, the power, and I don't mean to get spiritual or anything like that, but the power that people have here in their
Mhm,
minds to
mhm.
create anything and preserve it, and it's there for centuries now,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
us to really be able to absorb and be proud of the things that we've been able to do, but you have been able to encompass those things in a place that folks just drive through every day, like, I'm just going to
Yeah.
work, I'm going to work.
Yeah, I think we were on the phone maybe when we were talking earlier about, the Statue of Liberty that's on 459.
Yes.
That I mean, we pass by it all the time. I can remember being younger and asking my parents, "Why do we have a Statue of Liberty replica?" And they didn't know. And when I was writing this book, that was one of the first things that I was on a mission to find out, and I asked probably a dozen people about that, and they didn't know why. And I said,
That's
"That
crazy.
is not okay." Like, we see these things and we don't ever stop to understand why, and it's so funny. That's another one where I wanted there to be a big fascinating story behind it because I was like, "Okay, there's a Statue of Liberty in New York. If we have one here in Birmingham, Alabama, there's gotta be this fascinating." story. And that one, I think people will be a little bit disappointed in the story because it's not as fascinating as I thought, but it's still, at least now we know, so that if someone asks us, we can say, yes, we know why there's a Statue of Liberty replica on on 459.
Now the other one that I guess you would say that this is wonderful and
Right.
weird is the woman who invented the windshield wiper
Yeah.
from Birmingham.
From Birmingham.
Now
I
tell me about that discovery.
I didn't learn about that. That was definitely one that I found in a book, and of course, I didn't have someone to ask, but as I was reading and actually when I was exploring one of the cemeteries to get some of the other information, someone led me
Yeah,
to.
that's the other one I want to talk about. So, yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
So,
we're
yeah,
on the
and
same
then they
page.
kinda gave me the history behind, the why there. I mean, it is very. I mean, that one wasn't hard. Of course, you're driving and you're needing to make sure, like, there needs to be some device to help
Mhm.
to clear this so that we can drive in this weather. And that's pretty much what happened. And so, yeah, that was one that was I was led to by talking to someone else, which is how some of these things happen too. So some of the things I found in books, but some of them I learned about, like as I was talking to someone about one of the secrets, they would lead me to something else or say, hey, oh, you need to talk to him because he'll know all these things.
That's
Yeah.
wild. Okay. So you were able to connect a whole lot of dots, in other
Oh,
words.
yeah, I have so many. My Rolodex is full, so many contacts now because people would introduce me to someone
Mhm.
else that had a. That was my favorite part, sitting down having coffee with strangers. I told you I love talking to strangers.
Well, so you now you talked about the cemetery and a lot of veterans and and all are buried there. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I mean that is
Well,
like
which cemetery? Because I did explore a couple. Are you talking?
Oak Hill.
Yes, Oak Hill.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. So that one, I'm gonna tell you what is fascinating to me.
Mhm.
So Oak Hill's history dates back way, during segregation, right?
Mhm.
And so when everything else in Birmingham was segregated, and you look at the dates on some of those, headstones, that cemetery was not segregated, which is very strange
Very
because
strange.
if you go to other cemeteries, they definitely are. So that was what made that one so unique for me, and also the architecture on some of those things. When you look at the age and you look at some of the structures that are in there, it is fascinating, but the most fascinating thing for me was that you had the haves not all right there together. You had, blacks, whites all right there together. So and then you have, soldiers from I think it was like 4 different, wars that are buried right there in that cemetery together, just all mixed in together. I thought that was very fascinating, especially for Birmingham, which is known to have been deeply, lots of segregation in this area. So, yeah, that was very fascinating. I had to put that in there
Wow.
because
Wow.
that's
Wow.
huge.
Wow.
Yeah.
That and it just lets you see that we all part of the same fabric. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? We all, like you said, we all out here just living.
Yep. Yep.
And we're sad to say, end up
Right.
we start out somewhere and we end up somewhere.
Yeah.
But, this life we are weaved in together. And
Yeah. Oh,
that's
yeah.
the way those stories should be told.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
So in your discovery, and it's so many places because reading and going through everything, I was like, oh, man, and I've been to a lot of places, which is great, but they are most of them I have to say are the places that you automatically go to.
Right.
You go to
It's
the
really
16th, you go
routine. Yeah.
to you routine places. Yeah, you go to the Vulcan, you go to Nikki's West,
Yeah.
you go to
Okay, can I
Botanical Gardens.
spill
You
a secret though?
Yeah, go
My
ahead.
own secret. I had not gone to Nikki's West until I wrote the book.
So you've been missing out this whole time.
I have. That was my first time going. That was another thing too, you probably noticed in the book. I tried to visit every site that I wrote about, and I'll put, like, in the back, I put, like, the date that I went because that was important to me to make sure that I visited many of the places, that were in the book. So as many as I could, I did.
Now, girl, you had to go through the line in like 3 seconds now.
I
You
did, yeah,
can't wait. You can't
can't
make a decision.
somebody warned me, they were like, "You better know, look at the menu before you go if you're indecisive because they did not have time to play with you over there."
What what you want? What you want, baby? What you want?
I
What you want, baby? What you want? Hilarious.
But I have been back several times since then, so yeah, I
Yeah.
was like, "I cannot believe I hadn't been." hadn't been there, and I'm glad you brought that up too, because a lot of people asked about restaurants, and I
Yeah.
don't have a lot of restaurants in there. You probably noticed that as you were flipping through. It
Mhm.
had to have some significance, and it had to be etched in Birmingham story for me to put it in there because that is the purpose of this book. These are things that are so Birmingham. We have lots of great restaurants in Birmingham, but either we know some of them are chains and some of them are here today, gone tomorrow. So it's really important for me to choose ones that really had a story and that were really like a part of Birmingham's story, like historically. So those are the ones that earned a spot in my book. So or in this particular book, right?
Yeah, well, I can say, reading it made me, and I'm not through with it, which I'm
Okay.
glad, 'cause I wanna, I read a lot of it, but I
Uh-huh.
skimmed a lot too, and I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna come back to this or come back to that or whatever," but, one thing that I can say is it makes you proud.
I'm
It makes
glad.
you proud,
That
like,
is what I wanted.
absolutely, it makes you so proud, and it definitely answers the question, "What is there to do in
Oh,
Birmingham?"
yeah. Like, I'm doing a workshop, we're talking about backyard vacation planning. Like, how can I plan? And I have, like, several, and I'll probably put some of these out after I do these workshops, but just, like, here's how you can plan a staycation and
That's
see things
crazy.
that you don't see because we all hang out, like you said, we do our routines, we do our things, but we have some amazing green spaces and walking trails and just lots of things that you can see, and I've talked to some people that are homeschoolers and they talk about how they, do these things and where they take their groups to see and learn and experience all these things that are right here in Birmingham. Of course, I love to vacation, but we need to see what's at home, see what's at our back
Mhm.
door before we start exploring other places or in addition to exploring other things too.
Absolutely, and like the nature preserve that's there, like,
Yes,
who knew?
exactly.
I was reading something, and that's one thing that you said too, like, you're quoted as saying, "I didn't know there were so many
Oh, yeah,
things to do," like, who knew that
yeah,
there were so many things, so it's going to definitely leave, readers with answering the question, "There's so much to do."
yeah,
What is there to do in Birmingham? There's so much to do in Birmingham, but also it's like, "Man, who knew that was that?
yes,
Who knew that was this place? Who knew that I could go here?" And, who knew that this dot connects to this dot and all of that. I mean, it is very rich with information, with, locations, with people,
mhm,
with history, with, like you were talking about, the landmarks and, historical places and stuff, and it's, like, right there.
yeah.
You basically get out you go to Birmingham and you park your car and you can Uber now.
Right, you really can. One of the hard things was the publisher limited me to 300 words per vignette, and as a
Oof.
writer, there's so much to say, but the way that I'm kind of saying the positive thing about that is that you can finish the story with your exploration. So if you find out just enough to get you excited and interested, then you go to this place and you can finish the story with your family or with your loved one or by yourself if you're a solo adventurer. But and you said not you weren't finished reading the book. I envision it being one that you'll want to sit through and flip through, but I also envision it sitting out on your table so that when someone comes over to visit from out of town, or if you're babysitting a niece or a nephew and you're like, let's go do something today, or I say it's so many different ways that you can use this book. I'm working with some of the local tour companies to try to put together like a Secret Birmingham tour. I also saw like a lot of ideas that are coming. I won't reveal too much because I'm still
Cannot wait.
in the works, but I'm so excited about the possibilities from this book.
Well, you make sure you call me, and
Yeah,
especially if if you need a DJ or something like that, I got
absolutely.
So let's going back to my question about one place that you discovered, and even if it's not in the book, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
one place that you discovered where you were just like, man, people have to know about this. What was that?
I love that you asked me that question. I'm ready for it. And, they asked me a couple of times and I wasn't ready because there's a lot in the book and there's a
It is
lot
a lot.
ooh and ah, and I learned a lot writing that book. But I think one of my favorite ones, and the ones that I was like, people have to know about this. I am so, especially with all of the meanness that's in the world right now, I think the story that probably touched me most or that I was like, people need to know this is a story about Birmingham's Batman. And I purposely
Yes.
want to tell the story because I want people to
Yes.
read it, but that was the one that I did a reading when I went to Titusville Library, and we were all like, and then it was also nice because I met people who actually knew Birmingham's Batman, knew the story. That is the story, I think, and that is the one that I had that just walk away. You talk about feeling proud. You talk
Yes.
about saying, like, there are good people in this world, people doing something for others with nothing asking for nothing in return. Like, that is just the world that I want to know, and so I was just so happy to see that we had something so special right here in this area.
I heard about him in that story. I cannot remember now who told me first.
Mhm.
And what we were talking about, just like
Yes,
hearing about it was like it's like you had to listen because
yes.
nothing at all like it. Can't
Yes,
imagine.
so proud to put it in the book so that that
Yeah,
story doesn't die,
yeah,
right? And
yeah.
I know that it's in other places and other people have written about it, but I'm happy to have it in my book so that it's there and have a person that I met that actually was able to connect with me with the family, and I wasn't able to
Man.
connect with the family as I was writing the book, so I'm excited to reach out and hopefully give them a book and, because
Mhm.
it's something that I would love for them to have in their portfolio because it
Yeah.
made me proud. So,
Yeah, that one is definitely one
that's my
that I'm
favorite.
I'm so glad that
And I
that you
finally found
deserve
the
it.
mural. In the book, and that's another thing, I'll talk about the photography in just a minute, but, I couldn't find the mural when I was writing the book, so I had to source that picture that I have in the book. It was sourced from someone else, but recently, I was able to finally find the mural, and I was so mad at myself because I was so close when I was looking for it. I was like, just didn't go around the building enough to find it, so I found the mural, took my own
Wow.
pictures, and again, I had that same feeling of chills even when I saw it. Like, I was like, "This is so amazing.
Well,
This
you
is
just gotta spend it for the next ones.
That's
It's
right,
you
that's
you you
right."
know, you got it. You're a historian. You
I was
certified
yeah,
now.
I was talking
So
to a history teacher that told me that. He was like, "You're a historian now." I was
yeah,
like,
absolutely.
"Yeah, yeah."
Yeah, absolutely, and, a person that has just a wealth of knowledge, you are a subject matter expert, as they say,
That's right,
you
and
know
then to get that from a teacher, to say something like that, that was just, very humbling because I set out to write a book, right? I like to write words and it's been way more than I thought. I'm just so excited about it. I had a school to reach out to me to buy 20 copies for their students. And it's just like for people to think enough of it and trust it enough to put it in front of students really made me proud. So
The
it's
one question I want to ask you in one sentence for someone who is you're an English teacher now.
I know
I'm testing the teacher
I'm
now.
a little rusty now. I've been out
I'm
of the game
testing
for
the
a little
teacher.
while.
So in one sentence, for someone who is new to the city or is visiting the city, how would you pitch your book
Mhm.
and the contents of your book so that they would be hooked
Oh,
on
that's a
it?
good one. That's a good one. So a lot of times when I do book events, I will sign books, and I love to go beyond just writing my name, which I do, but
Okay.
I'm always like, who just wants my name in the book? Like, I'm Cherith Fluker, it's whatever. So I will write a sentence, usually that has something to do is, I hope you have fun uncovering what makes this city so magical.
Mm.
And I think that when people hear that, like, they do wanna know, like, what does make this city magical? And so I said it was the perfect nickname for the city because, yes, the way that it boomed so quickly made it magical, but there are so many other things to include also. So I would invite them to read this book to learn what makes Birmingham so magical.
That's a good one. That was a good one.
I
So
passed
as an author, what are you reading these days?
So, I actually just got back from a retreat, and we it was a writing retreat, but we had a book study, so the thing that I just read was a fun one. So do you follow the Best Man series, like the movie The Best Man?
Of course.
I just read The Best Man: Unfinished Business, so that's the most recent thing
Okay.
that I wrote. So I'm usually between something fun, that was my fun, and I always wanna try to have something professional in my hand too because I want to grow. And I say, I have accomplished a lot in my career as far as, I was a teacher, an administrator, earned my doctorate, I've done a lot. But I also know that there are so many more things out there for me. So there is a book called What Got Me Here Won't Get Me There or Won't Take Me There. And so I have that one that I'm starting just to see, like, I don't ever want to be comfortable. I always want to be growing and learning. And, yes, I wrote this book, but I'm like, check, that's something else I want to do. What's next? And whether it is, me promoting or creating programs from this book, which is, one of the things that I hope to do. I want to just be a book. I want to, you know, talk to Girl Scout troops. I want to talk to civic organizations. I want to, get out and get people on these trails. I want to do all these things. So I just want to make sure that I'm always working to develop and grow and learn. So that's what I'm doing. And like I said, I always something fun, something professional. So that's what I have in my hand right now. Those two.
I'm gonna put that one. I'm gonna put that one on my list too. Well, I'm just, so excited. I know we had a briefing when we first talked, but man, I was excited for the conversation, but I am very enriched and I feel like I'm talking to a walking, I don't even know how to describe you, just the, encyclopedia first of all.
Yeah.
But no, no, seriously, because, you know, people don't become experts by happenstance. You really had to do some hard work,
Yeah, and you know what I like to
to get
call
there.
that is resourceful, because I tell people that I'm very resourceful. I don't
Yeah.
know everything, I don't try to pretend to be, and I tell people, "Call me, because if I don't know it, I'm gonna find us somebody who know it." You saw
Yeah.
it when I talked to you, the first thing,
Yeah.
okay, you said radio. "Oh, hey, I wanna be on the radio. Can you help me do this?" I'm very, very intentional about when I make relationships with people. It's not to and I say all the time, it's not using people at all. I wouldn't go to a chef and ask because I'm not a cook, so that would be like using but if there are people out here doing the thing that I want to do, I surround myself with those folks. I network, I do those things that are gonna help get me to, like that maybe someone can point me to that thing that I'm looking for, and that's exactly what I did when I was writing the book. So, I think that's, just important about being intentional with those connections that you're making and being mindful of the resources that are right there around you.
And I'll tell you this, speaking of being resourceful, I always say, you should get to a point in life, I think, and especially in your career, and that's kind of secondary because in life it's who you are. Your career is what you do. You know what
Right,
I mean? But being resourceful is the key because, you planting seeds and you definitely want to plant seed that will root and will
right,
grow because
right.
your blessings come from that. So the seeds that you are planting with this book will, man, enrich so many people's lives,
Yeah, yeah,
but it will be, food for their souls because they will learn to appreciate what's right there in front of them
right,
and keep them present,
right,
and
right.
it's all about being present, as you walk and go through this life because it's just like this, that
Yes,
you
right.
look up and you're not able, you
And I
know
try
what I mean? So
with everything, like what you said, just not even planting those seeds when I was writing the book, but even before. Like if you look at my blog, it went from self-care to travel, and then I was doing kind of the, nationwide travel. Then I was like, "Okay, if I'm gonna write this book, I need it to be believable." So I
yeah.
got really intentional about writing things about Birmingham, things about Alabama, so that people would see that this work was not just some random here is this book, but I was really intentional about doing those things that were gonna set me up to put me in a position to where it was believable, and I think that is a thing that makes it a little bit easier for me to get people to buy into the work because they'll see, like, I did this work for a year, but I've also been doing it for 4 years because 'cause I've been doing this type of thing for other places, and, if I had written a book about California, that probably wouldn't have been as believable, right?
Right,
Because
right.
that's not the work that I've been doing.
Now, as far as, like, Pell City High and Pell City
Yeah,
High students, which I see is still a joy,
yeah,
of yours,
big part of my
and
life.
you taught there and, they're discovering a whole 'nother side of you now being an author. So if a student picks up the book and, they discover Birmingham, but let's talk about beyond just Birmingham's secrets.
Mhm.
What do you hope that those students will take away from the book, but then also discover about themselves that will help them, life?
I love that question. I think the thing that I would love for them to take away or to feel or to think when they see this book is that you can do whatever you want to do. Because I could have easily been like, "Oh, I'm just a girl from Winterboro, graduated with 50 students. I can't write a book." And I also want them to see, like, you're not too old, it's not too late. I'm 47 years old, not almost 47 years old, and I did this, right? So I want people to see, go after your dreams. It may not be right then. Like, I've been wanting to write a book for a really long time, and there are just other things
Really?
just kinda taking precedent over it, or I was doing these other things. So I want people to see, no matter what your book is, whatever your dream is, whatever your book is, you can do it. And you don't have to, it doesn't matter, like, when the timing is right, it'll happen for you. So that's what I hope. I want them to see me still, even though I had what looked like a good life, still pursuing my dreams and still pursuing other things and still trying to grow. And I want them to see that.
Saying yes to you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
saying
Yeah.
yes to you. That,
Absolutely.
as they say, that's all right.
And been proud of a lot of things that I've done, but this is something I'm really, really proud of. And I want them to feel that way about whatever it is that they're doing.
Well, you should be proud because I like I said, I can't wait to finish reading and I won't be finished because I'm gonna have to go back and reference and visit some of these places and take it in because
Yes.
it's I've been to a few, but I
Yeah.
didn't take it in. You know what
Yes.
I mean? And
Yes.
so this is gonna make me more intentional, like you've spoken about, but make me more intentional about rediscovering what's special about where God decided to put me on this earth. You know
Yes.
what I mean? And
Yes. I
so,
had someone to come
thank
to
you.
my events, a few weeks ago, and she had a friend that was visiting her from out of town. She said the book was sitting on her table. She said the friend picked up the book and was flipping through the book and was planning to stay in Birmingham for the weekend, but extended her stay because she wanted to go see some of the things that were in the book. And she also brought her to the event with her, and she said, "I told her she's gotta buy her own book because she just keep." So she brought her and she bought a book, and she said that she was sitting there flipping down the pages of, like, "These are the things that I wanna see before I leave," and so she was gonna stay a whole week so that she could, see those things, so that made me
Well,
feel proud.
yeah, look at you making economic impact, like, right
Exactly,
there.
that's when I told somebody to put me in touch
Bing,
with
bing,
the
bing.
tourism board, right?
Amen. There we go. There we go. Well, please, tell everybody I know the blog is active. You are on social media. You are touring. You are
That's so
doing, like,
good to
some
hear,
great
yeah.
things. Please let everybody know what's next, how people can follow you, stay
Yeah,
in touch with you,
yes, very.
continue to engage with you.
So my blog is What Cherith Thinks, and on the blog, you can go to the events tab at the top, and that will show you all the stops on the tour, all the places that I'm going. September was very heavy, but October is booming too. So just so many fun things. And what I want people to notice is that I am very intentional about where I have events. Also, I'm partnering with a lot of the places that are in the book or places that I wanted to put in the book or that I discovered after the book was written, and I am honoring them by having an event at their space. So I am so thankful for all of those community partners. Also, very thankful for the people, lots of folks in the book who are stocking the book in their establishments. So you can get the book at the Birmingham Museum of Art, Southern Museum of Flight, all locations of Alabama Goods, the local bookstores, Thank You Books, local Little Professor. So it's been really fun to see where it pops up. Dread River stocked books. So that's what's so special to me is that these places that don't normally carry books are carrying books because they think it's that important or that it's that special to them. So that's been really fun to see. So yes, check me out on the website. There are You can purchase signed copies or you can pick up signed copies at my events. And I also go into some of the spaces and sign books when they're generous enough to let me do that. Most of them have been very generous, but I'll be at Barnes and Noble, Books a Million doing signings, and all of that can be found on my website.
Well, awesome sauce. Well, I'm gonna get my copy.
Yes.
and I'm just gonna call you and say, "Hey, girl, what you doing?
Yes, yes, let's
Meet
go
me
have
such and
coffee
such.
somewhere. Yes, yes,
I need my John Hancock
yes. I love it.
on it too." So that we got to make that happen. I'm thankful, so
Yes,
thankful
thank you.
that you joined me and just talk a little bit. And I'm a big fan.
I
I'm
love
a big
it, I
fan
love it. Let me
already
tell my
because
husband I have a fan.
I'm a fan because
Okay, you need
no,
to tell him.
seriously, because no, it is it is in, but you deserve that much and more because, you stepped out and you put something pen to paper, but you gave people something to, like I said, stay present,
Yes,
to chew on, to discover, and it's gonna enrich their life.
I hope so.
And so thank you for doing that. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. And I've enjoyed you so much and can't wait to see what comes next after Secret
Yes,
Birmingham because I
can't
know
wait.
you got so many
Oh,
more
it's so
words to.
fun. It's so fun.
Well, thank you again. And of course, make sure that you follow, like, share, subscribe on YouTube, but subscribe on podcast platforms. And we will do this again real soon.
Yes.